Lori Harvey walked away from Michael B. Jordan, and the story that spread fast was that she just wasn't ready for marriage. He was serious, fully locked in, ready to take that next step, even thinking about proposing, and she shut it down like it was nothing. People close to the situation were saying he was giving real commitment, real effort, the kind most people claim they want, and still, it wasn't enough for her. Then things got even messier, because right after the breakup, news hit the media at the exact moment Michael was sitting courtside at a basketball game, cameras all on him, catching every second of his reaction live. That timing didn't look random at all, and the internet noticed immediately. Everyone remembers those clips and photos going viral. Michael sitting there, quiet, clearly hurt, trying to stay composed while the whole world watched him process it in real time. And instead of sympathy, a huge part of the internet turned it into jokes, memes, and thinky pieces. Meanwhile, Lori was getting hyped up online with people saying she played it smart and even claiming she successfully tricked him. That narrative spread fast, and it stuck for a while. If you remember how wild that moment was, go ahead and like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment because it really got people talking. But it didn't stop there. For months after, there were subtle jabs, side comments, and rumors flying everywhere. Lori and Marjorie were both being linked to shady posts and conversations that seemed aimed right at Michael. Then came the stories trying to flip the situation completely, suggesting he left her for a white ex-girlfriend. That angle picked up steam when Marjorie's friend Lisa Ray stepped in, pushing the idea that Michael only dates white women, adding even more noise to the situation. It started to feel less like a breakup and more like a full-on campaign to shift public opinion against him. People who originally supported him even started second-guessing things because the narrative kept changing. And now look at how everything turned out. After all that pressure, all that talk, all those rumors, Michael B. Jordan just won an Oscar for Best Actor. That's a major win, the kind that puts you in a whole different league. Suddenly, Lori wants to reach out, wants to call and congratulate him like nothing ever happened. But this time, things didn't go the way people expected. Michael didn't answer, didn't respond, didn't give anything back at all. Complete silence. And honestly, that silence said everything. No drama, no back and forth, just moving forward and focusing on himself. After everything that played out, that moment hits different because it shows a shift in power. The same people who once controlled the narrative are now watching from the outside while he levels up. That's the kind of twist nobody saw coming, and it's exactly why this whole situation still has people talking. So let's really break down how this whole situation even got to this point, because the level of disrespect Michael went through was actually crazy, and the way things flipped in the end makes it hit even harder. From the outside, when Michael and Lori were together, everything looked solid, smooth, almost like one of those picture-perfect celebrity relationships people root for. They were showing up together, smiling, supporting each other, and it gave off the vibe that this was serious, not just some short-term situation. Even Steve Harvey was out here publicly giving Michael credit, speaking highly of him, saying how good he was not just to Lori, but to the whole family. That matters, because Steve doesn't just co-sign anybody like that. It wasn't just, this is my daughter's boyfriend. It was more like, this is a man I respect. And people picked up on that energy.
Only way you give your potential mother-in-law some skis is because you want her to be your mother-in-law. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm pulling for him because he's a really good guy, man. Comes from a good family, So I'm kind of pulling for him, but at the same time, I got my eye on him, I can't whoop him, but if he ever turn around, I'm gonna knock his ass out. That boy be in the gym, man. Like, he comes in my gym to work out, and I be going like, woo!
Michael wasn't just around for appearances. He was present, involved, and moving like someone who understood the bigger picture of being in a relationship like that. Lori herself even spoke on it, saying Michael actually listened to her, and the way she described it made it sound like that kind of attention was rare for her, like she wasn't used to being heard like that before.
You know, we just really balance each other, and I really do believe in this statement, you know, when they say, when you know, you know. Mm-hmm. And I think that really applies to our situation, and you know, we just have a really good time together. He's so sweet, very attentive, you know. He listens to me, you know, the things that I say that I want, and he like really makes an effort.
And when you look at her dating history, people couldn't help but connect the dots. She dated Future, and let's just say, listening isn't exactly what people associate with him. So when she highlighted that about Michael, it made him stand out even more as someone different. Michael was easily one of the most respectable and emotionally available men she had been with, no question. He was showing consistency, effort, and real intention. And yeah, she decided she wasn't ready for that level of commitment, and that's her choice. Nobody's saying she had to stay. But what turned this from a normal breakup into something messy was everything that came after. That's where things started to look calculated instead of just personal, because instead of it being a quiet split, it turned into what felt like a full-on PR move. Lori and Marjorie didn't just move on, they started shaping the narrative in a way that made Michael look like the problem. Lori even posted a photo of a license plate that said "dump him," and people immediately saw that as a direct shot. That wasn't subtle at all. Then she did interviews where she was basically hinting that the relationship failed because Michael didn't meet her standards, and that raised a lot of eyebrows because it didn't match what people had been seeing the whole time.
I'm about to, like I said, just date on my terms, and like however I want to move, whatever I want to do, I'm gonna do it. And if it's no longer serving me, I'm gonna move on. Just remember that you're the prize always.
Say that one more time.
Just remember that you are the prize.
Yes.
That's like his golden slogan for me.
Yeah. And what does that mean for you in relationships when you're like, I'm the prize? What does that mean?
It just means not compromising like my values, my happiness, my peace, not settling for less than what I know I deserve, and not being afraid to walk away from a situation if it's like no longer serving me.
The whole situation started to feel less like two people went their separate ways and more like one side is trying to control how the story gets told. And once that kind of energy gets out, it spreads fast and gets people picking sides whether they know the full story or not. If you've been following this and see how wild it got, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment because it only gets crazier from here. And this right here is the part that really makes people stop and question everything because the double standard is loud. This is the same woman who dated Future, a man widely known for having multiple relationships and complicated situations with different women. That reputation didn't exactly scream stability or commitment, but somehow Michael B. Jordan, the guy who was serious, focused, and ready to build something real, is the one who didn't meet the standard. That logic never added up, not then and not now. People saw that contrast immediately, and it stuck in conversations for a reason. Then Marjorie stepped in and added even more heat to the situation. She reposted a video of Jennifer Lewis saying that if you sit in something too long, it stops smelling, basically suggesting Lori needed to leave the relationship.
But I'm here to tell you this. You sit in shit too long, it stops smelling. So come the fuck out of there.
That wasn't subtle at all. That was a clear message, and people caught it instantly. It made the whole situation feel even more coordinated, like there was a push happening behind the scenes to shape how everyone viewed Michael after the breakup. And it didn't stop there. Lisa Ray got pulled into the mix and went public with claims that Michael only dates white women and was using Lori to look more connected to the black community. That kind of statement is serious, and it shifted the conversation in a major way. Now, it wasn't just about a breakup. It became something bigger, something that hit on identity and public perception. Whether people agreed or not, it added a whole new layer of controversy that kept Michael's name in constant debate. What makes all of this stand out is how intentional it felt. The narrative didn't just form on its own, it looked guided, shaped, and pushed in a certain direction. And now here's the twist that has everyone talking again. Reports are saying Marjorie is reacting just as strongly as Lori too. Michael's Oscar win and the fact that he's not responding at all. That's the same person who was throwing shade, making indirect comments, and backing narratives that painted him in a negative light. Now suddenly, the tone has changed. Michael is on that stage, holding one of the biggest awards in Hollywood, and the energy around him is completely different. The same situation that once had people questioning him now has people looking at him with respect and recognition. And just like that, Lori wants to reach out and congratulate him like none of that tension ever happened. That shift didn't go unnoticed, and people are definitely paying attention to how all of this is playing out now. Now, all of a sudden, Marjorie thinks reaching out is a smart move, but Michael clearly saw through that instantly. Because this doesn't come off like genuine support, it feels like trying to stay close to success. When he was sitting courtside, clearly hurt and going through it, they turned him into jokes and memes. But now that he's standing on stage holding an Oscar, suddenly they want to reconnect. That switch up says a lot about what really mattered from the start, and people are not missing that detail at all. And then you've got Steve Harvey, who handled this whole situation completely differently. Out of everyone involved, he's the one who consistently showed Michael real respect, and that stands out even more when you look at all the noise around it. After the breakup, while Lori and Marjorie were making their feelings very public, Steve stayed quiet and stayed solid. He didn't jump into the drama, didn't take shots, and didn't go along with any of the narratives being pushed. He didn't throw shade, didn't back any claims about Michael's dating history, and most importantly, he didn't cut him off. Instead, people started noticing small but meaningful signs. Steve posted messages like, "Love yourself, my G," and sometimes we need to thank God for what didn't happen. And a lot of people felt like those words were directed at Michael. It wasn't loud or messy, but it spoke volumes. And then recently, they were even seen together at a basketball game, dapping each other up, hugging, looking completely cool with each other like nothing broke that connection. That moment alone had people talking because it showed that whatever happened between Michael and Lori didn't erase the respect Steve had for him. But not everyone was okay with that. Reports say Lori was upset about that meetup and even wanted Steve to fully cut ties with Michael. That's a bold ask, especially when it's clear her father still values that relationship. It puts Steve in a position where he has to choose between staying genuine to how he feels or giving into pressure that doesn't really match his actions so far. And when you really look at it, that request raises a bigger question. If someone earned respect through how they treated you and your family, can you really expect that respect to just disappear because the relationship ended? That tension right there is what makes this part of the story hit even harder, because it shows that not everything can be controlled once people have already seen who you are and how you move. It really seems like Steve understands something that Lori still hasn't fully accepted, and that's the idea that Michael B. Jordan brought real value into that family, and losing him hit harder on their side than his. The way Steve continues to move, calm, respectful, and still connected, kind of hints that he saw something solid in Michael that doesn't just disappear after a breakup. And now, with everything that's happened, that perspective is starting to make even more sense to people watching from the outside. Then Michael finally spoke up about the situation during his SNL appearance after winning that Oscar, and that moment caught a lot of attention. He referenced the past, relationship with Lori, and made it clear in his own way that her walking away wasn't his loss. It was hers. That was the first time people really heard him address it directly, and it hit different because he had stayed silent for so long before that. For the longest time, he didn't respond to the jokes, the memes, or the rumors that kept circulating. He just stayed focused, kept working, and didn't give anyone the reaction they were trying to pull out of him. But now, with that Oscar in his hands, it felt like he finally had the moment to speak from a position of strength. And what he said lined up with what a lot of people had already been thinking this whole time, that he leveled up while others were busy trying to tear him down. And honestly, from that angle, it makes sense why he said it. When you go through months of public criticism, subtle shots, and narratives being pushed about you, there's going to be a moment where the tables turn. And when they do, people expect some kind of response, especially when the outcome proves a different story than what was being pushed before. What really brings everything together is the contrast we're seeing now. On one side, you've got Michael standing at a peak moment in his career, recognized at the highest level, moving forward without looking back. And on the other side, you've got Lori in a completely different position, with people now re-examining everything that happened and questioning how it all played out. That difference in trajectory is what keeps this whole story alive in conversations, because it shows how fast things can shift when time reveals a different outcome than what people expected. He just won the biggest award in his entire industry, and that says everything without him even needing to explain it. He's at the top of his game right now, locked in, focused, and letting his work do all the talking. No drama, no back and forth, just results. Meanwhile, Lori moved on to Damson, Idris, and now the conversation has shifted again, with reports saying she has regrets and is trying to reach out to a man who isn't even picking up her calls. That contrast is loud, and the internet definitely didn't stay quiet about it. People online have been going in saying Steve and Marjorie probably shared a quiet look when Michael's name was called at the Oscars, realizing how everything played out. Others are saying Lori lost one of the best situations she had, and that not every man would have handled things the way Michael did. Some even pointed out that a weaker mindset might have answered that call, might have entertained the moment, but Michael didn't fold under any of that pressure. And when you really think about it, they're not wrong. After everything that happened, the public breakup, the jokes, the narratives, the subtle shots, all of it, the strongest move he could make was to not engage at all. No statements, no reactions, no trying to clear his name in the middle of the noise. He let time pass, stayed consistent, and let his success speak louder than anything else. In the end, he gave them absolutely nothing. No response, no access, no reopening doors that were already closed. Just silence, and an Oscar sitting in his hands. That kind of outcome hits different because it shows that not every situation needs a reaction. Sometimes the real power is in moving on and leveling up while everyone else is still stuck talking about the past. If you've been following this whole story and seeing how everything flipped, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment with your thoughts, because this is one of those moments people are going to keep talking about for a long time.